Okay, fine, maybe I'm just a little nostalgic.
So at the end of the day, what have the past 2.5 years really meant to me? The crazy journey of the last 2.5 years of PT school have taught me that life is a marathon, not a sprint. I might be choosing this particular metaphor because running has been my go-to activity for stress relief, but stick with me because I think it really applies in this situation. I came to Regis fresh out of undergrad. I was eager to start living in a new place, finally closer to the mountains I remembered admiring from a distance when I was a kid living in Seattle. At the time, there was only one thing certain in my mind. I wanted to be a physical therapist. I did not know what type of physical therapy I wanted to do, or where I ultimately wanted to live, or really what exactly my future would hold. Although there are still many unknowns about the future, the past 2 years have shaped the vision I have for myself more than I ever could have imagined. I find it useful to take a moment to reflect back on who I was when I started PT school. I was shy. I second-guessed myself in most situations and lacked confidence. I knew I was smart, but there was a nagging voice in the back of my head that constantly made me question whether I truly deserved to be in this doctorate program. Within the first few weeks of school starting, it was clear that things were starting to change for me. I had been on hikes with the people from class and quickly fell in love with my surroundings in Colorado. Spending 9-ish hours per week in anatomy lab with my group broke my shyness. I was cracking jokes and learning with them with the same level of comfort it took me years to develop with my friends from college. The first palpation lab made me come to terms with my hatred of being touched by other people, and now I don't think twice about having to get real cozy with a patient when it's necessary. The first round of tests proved to me that I was more than capable of success despite the academic challenge that this doctorate program brought. And somewhere in the midst of memorizing all the origins, insertions, and innervations of every muscle in the body, learning how to function in a group to complete all of the group projects, and exploring different running routes in my new neighborhood, I became more comfortable with myself than I had ever been before. So let's say that those first few great semesters were the first 10K of the marathon of PT school. I was excited. I felt like I was hitting a good stride, and although the race was far from over, I felt a little bit unstoppable. But of course, that unstoppable feeling came to an end eventually. For me, it ended sometime during the third semester. That was when we took the first class I truly struggled with, which was kinesiology with Larissa. Immediately following that semester, I spent 6 weeks in rural Nebraska for my first clinical experience. Those 6 weeks forced me out of my comfort zone far more than I was expecting. In retrospect, that's one of the things I am most grateful for about Regis's curriculum, but at the time, it was very lonely and challenging. After that first clinical, we launched directly into some very fast-paced semesters, and it felt like I had not had a break from work in forever. Then, for my second clinical experience, I was at a busy outpatient ortho clinic. It became clear very quickly that this was not the setting for me. My attitude struggled for those 8 weeks, and I was honestly very glad when they were over. It was during this time that I really learned how to lean on others for support, something which up until this point in my life had made me uncomfortable. Now, I'm grateful to have had that experience, as it forced me to be more efficient, and it also gave me a good understanding of treating most musculoskeletal problems. It also solidified the suspicion I had that I did not want to work slowly with orthopedics, that I craved the variety and creativity that came with treating the neuro population. After that experience, I intentionally directed my path towards the ultimate goal of being a neuro PT by becoming involved with the TBI support group for service learning and applying for an outpatient neuro clinic as my fourth and final experience. To return to the marathon metaphor, I would say that the time between starting ClinEd 1 up until the beginning of ClinEd 3 was miles 6 through 20. Hard work that was often uncomfortable. Sometimes I would question my decision to be here at all. Sometimes I would see my friends who were not in grad school and be jealous that they weren't going through what I was going through. Ultimately, though, I was always having a good time. Among all of the struggle, I was surrounded by people who helped me find the fun in things. We continued to enjoy the outdoors and explore this fun city. They very patiently taught me how to ski. We ran races, shared many meals, and spent even more hours studying together. Along the way, I continued to grow in confidence and comfort with myself. And then, somehow, the end was in sight. The final semester finished up in a blur. Next thing I knew, my hands were being blessed by the faculty, and I was leaving campus for what turned out to be the last time. I was extremely excited for my final 2 clinical experiences. My clinical instructors during these 2 experiences became true mentors for me, providing me with clear examples of what I want for my future career. The in-services I put together for these 2 experiences were about things I was actually passionate about. Although I spent my 4th clinical in Boise, where I knew no one, I felt none of the loneliness I had felt going to Nebraska for the first clinical. It goes without saying that the last 10K of this marathon was going perfectly. I started to feel like a real PT, and it was easier than ever to envision myself independently managing my own full caseload soon. And then it was unceremoniously over. I, along with every other graduate in the class of 2020, crossed the finish line without any real sense of closure. At first, I was excited to have been rated as entry level and given the all clear to graduate. Then, I was in shock that it was all over. And then the pain hit. Pain that I would not get to say goodbye to my patients, would not get to celebrate a real graduation with my classmates, would not get to take my boards as I had planned. In all honesty, that pain has not yet resolved. Through this pain, though, is a hunger for more. I'm ready to dedicate myself to a career in which I provide compassionate, best practice care for my patients. The Jesuits call that hunger magis, striving for excellence, to keep discerning the greater good in every situation. Though I am leaving this Jesuit institution, I plan to carry that value with me for the rest of my life. Now I find myself asking the same question I've asked myself at the end of the 2 actual marathons I've run. Would I do it all again? The answer is yes. My time at Regis was not only the first step towards beginning my career as a physical therapist, it was a time of immense growth in my life. As I've just presented on, this program taught me more than just how to be a physical therapist. I've learned leadership skills, grown in my cultural competency, and discovered a passion for community wellness. I look forward to continuing to grow as a therapist as my career starts, wherever that may be. It would be remiss to end this reflection on PT school without giving a sincere thank you to the support system that has carried me through. These people were my aid stations, the fuel and water that kept me going when things got tough. I do not have the words to express my gratitude that I have been lucky enough to encounter such strong, supportive, fun, independent, intelligent, ambitious, and genuine people throughout my life. I would not be where I am today without you all and the inspiration you provide me with every day. For that, I say thank you.